Hey, we've got another episode of Hope and Mum and Dad podcast for you today. I'm Fuzz with my wife Becky.
Hello.
And we have decided to start this podcast. We're only 4 episodes in, but this podcast is about our IVF journey, and we're also connecting with other people with the same, they're going through the same thing, IVF, going through an IVF journey, whether that's like they've already done it or if you're in the middle of it or looking to do that. We're just basically, we've made a podcast to get together and have a place where we can all talk about stuff, because it is a really annoying, stressful, long thing. So it's obviously our thoughts were it's better to do it together so we can all talk about it together and not feel so alone about it.
That's right. And this week we spoke to Caitlin and Lee, who are another couple in South Wales, going through infertility, and they've been trying to conceive a baby for a number of years. And I won't tell you too much more, but we had loads of fun talking to them. So here it is. Have fun.
So here we are. Becky has arranged this catch-up.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to hand over to Becky now.
Yeah. Welcome, Caitlin and Lee. How are you doing?
Hi.
How's everything going with you guys?
Yeah, good. Thank you for having us.
No problem.
For inviting us on.
It's great to have you guys on and like hear a little bit about what someone else is going through on their journey and and find out how trying to conceive is can like affecting you really. So
Yeah.
just to give the listeners some context and stuff, do you want to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, cool. So I'm Caitlin. This is Lee, my husband. We've been trying to conceive for just over 4 years. We've had quite a lot of treatment already. 6 rounds of Clomid, 2 IUIs that we paid for privately in CRGW while we were waiting for NHS funding. And then we had IVF on the NHS last year in May. We had 1 fresh transfer and 2 frozen transfers, and never been successful. We've never had a pregnancy before. So currently just waiting for, we've got 2 embryos left in the freezer.
Amazing.
2 left. Yeah, we had some good numbers. We had 5 embryos collected.
Yeah.
So we're just waiting to put those back in. They're going to do a double embryo transfer next time. We're also, same as you, in the Heath, in Wales Fertility Institute. So they're just patiently waiting for us in the freezer, and we're not so patiently.
Yeah, I get that.
Like, come on.
Yeah. Come on, everyone. Let's get going on this.
Oh, it's ridiculous. The amount of waiting.
Yeah.
And then with all this on top. It's just...
They're suddenly starting to talk and update us again, aren't they? The Wales Fertility Institute, like slowly but surely coming out with their little Facebook posts and everything. But generally it's been... Go on.
I think they've had some feedback that the communication hasn't been great. So I think we're now finally...
Yeah, starting to speak. Thank God. So tell us a bit about like you two. How did you guys meet? And I know you guys are married, aren't you?
Yeah.
2 years now.
Yeah, we got married in 2018. We started trying to conceive pretty much as soon as we met.
Yeah. Nice.
Good, yeah.
No messing around.
Yeah. If you
There
know
was no messing around. Lee came to my house.
Did you both know about it? Or
Couldn't trap him. We met. Do you want to tell the story about it? It's a quite a funny story how we met. My mum was in London. She's a Londoner. She lives in Wales now, but she's from London originally. So she went to London for the weekend, and she was outside this pub, and there were some boys trying to work out how to get the train back to Victoria.
Yeah, there was a tube strike on. There was. We were in Camden, and there was a tube strike on. So we were just like, "How are we going? We got to get our bus back. How are we going to get back?"
was it for a gig?
Pardon?
Were you in Camden for a gig?
No, we our friends live up in London, so
okay.
I was just visiting my mate. I was, and then we were just trying to get. We like, how are we going to get back to Victoria? And then this woman approached us, and she said, "Oh, she said, I know the area. If you just go up there, there's another tube station up there." And she recognised our accent. She said, "Oh, whereabouts in Wales are you from?" So when someone asks you, you just say, "Oh, Newport." Someone. Oh, she goes, "I know Newport. What part of Newport?" I said, "Oh, really? It's Risca." She said, "No way. My daughter lives in Risca."
What?
And I was like, well, weird.
And you were like, I'm looking for a wife, actually. So.
Yeah. And,
She's looking for a husband.
yeah, and she was like, oh yeah, this is a picture of my daughter. I'll text her now and I'll tell her to meet you in the pub tonight.
Oh my God.
So we got back off the bus, went into Risca. I seen Caitlin in the bar and I said, oh, I met my mother-in-law today.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
She didn't even
Who is it?
confirm it with you. She didn't say, oh, Caitlin, I'm sending this strange man I found on the streets to you.
She told me, yeah, she
okay.
said,
That would
"Send me a
help, wouldn't it?
picture."
Oh my God.
We both live in Risca and we've never ever met each other before. So that was our first.
What, all your lives? You've lived it.
Yeah.
How big's Risca though? Is it kind of like
Not very.
the Vale?
No.
Is it like?
And it's a really like friendly community. You know, everyone knows everyone, and it was just I was like, oh, there is an age gap.
Just a bit.
Yeah.
What is the age gap?
Yeah, 8 years.
8 years. Yes. Yeah,
I can't figure out which way that is. Is that good?
Yeah.
Really?
No, I know
It's
you're
good for
younger.
Lee.
You're
Good for Lee.
younger. The lady is always younger in these
I was going to
situations.
say.
It's just for the sake of just
Being polite.
being impartial.
That's mad. So your mum played Cupid.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So
I
yeah,
know,
so
cute.
I met her before I met Caitlin. It
Oh,
was
wow.
crazy, and it was just off the cuff. You know, sort of. We were just in London. It was
Oh my
just, it was weird.
God. And so
Yeah.
I love how confident you were, Lee. Just like, oh, I just met my mother-in-law. Like,
I had been drinking all day. So
There we go.
Dutch courage. Love it.
Courage, yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, I don't usually talk a lot, but
No,
yeah.
wish for to drink.
Yeah, and then we came home and
And he never moved out.
never moved out.
Oh, amazing. So it's just been the two of you since then, like from the get-go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was all a bit of a whirlwind. We were engaged after a year.
Yeah.
And then, married after 2 years.
Oh, lush. I think it's lovely.
Started trying.
Yeah, I love hearing people's stories about how they get together and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's,
I think when you know. So it's lovely that you just
Yeah.
thought, we want to make a family together.
Exactly, yeah.
Grow a family. Because I always think when people say make a family, I think it makes it sound like you two together aren't really a family, but you are already.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's like
that's
growing it.
Yeah, we've got to remember that we are still a family, even though.
Yeah. It's easy to forget though, isn't it? Because you get bogged down in thinking, baby, baby, baby,
Yeah.
So obviously you're saying you started trying before you got married. So how did you kind of like go through the motions, just for anyone who maybe at the very start of their journey, what they can expect and like what they
maybe a
should do?
better way of asking is, how did you, like, at what point did you start thinking, okay, we might need to do, a different route?
After 12 months,
Okay.
because I've been Googling it, and so straight away, downloaded all the fertility apps, and did all the ovulation sticks and all those things. And after 12 months, then that's just the advice on the NHS website if you've been trying over 12 months. For our age, I think if you're older, it might be 6 months. But yeah, we just went straight to the GP after 12 months, and then they referred us for all the basic tests. So we had cycle day 21 blood tests, the HSG, ultrasound, Lee's sperm test, and they were all pretty much fine. The only thing was that it was showing that I wasn't ovulating on the blood tests, which is strange because I have regular cycles. So they couldn't really work that out. It wasn't until we went to CRGW about 2 years later that they tested my thyroid, and then realised I had the same as you.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's under or over. I never remember.
Yeah.
It's not a lot. So in normal terms, my thyroid's fine, but in fertility terms,
It knocks it out.
So
Yeah,
is it quite sensitive then? Like, I'm quite oblivious to, because there's so much information going along. I just trust Becky to know what's up and just let me know where I got to go and what's going on. But
Yeah, I'm exactly the same.
it's not that I don't care. It's just I can't. I'm dyslexic and a bit thick sometimes as well. So like to remember, like I've tried remembering details and saying, oh yeah, because and it's wrong. I'm just like, okay, just let me know. So I'm in. That's kind of
where I need to be and when.
Yeah.
And I'll be-
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. So for me, the layman, because obviously you girls on the ball, you're looking at stuff constantly, and you know your stuff, like most women do, probably looking into fertility stuff. But for the layman, for people like me, is a thyroid issues basically? Is it is it fair to say the thyroid issues are basically like you can have a slightly off thyroid thing, which wouldn't affect you in everyday life, but it can make a massive difference for fertility stuff?
Exactly, yeah.
There you go.
And they should really do those tests on the NHS, I
As
think, at the beginning.
standard. Yeah.
Do you not get a thyroid test on the NHS?
You can,
No,
but they don't do it for fertility treatment. They don't do it for those investigations, do they?
And if we did do it on the NHS, it would have come back fine anyway. They wouldn't have looked into it from a fertility point of view.
Yeah, I do like I do a lot of fitnessy things, and I'm starting to look into like how other athletes, I'm not calling myself an athlete, but other people like check their blood and get their blood work done and stuff. And I think thyroid stuff is quite a common one to get done. So I could be talking shit. Like I'm not a doctor, but from what I remember, when people get their basic blood work done for like B12 and iron levels and stuff like that, I think thyroid function is quite accessible. Like if you need to get a private one done, which like you said, it might speed things up for like a couple of years for people. You know, if they need to get it done, just pay it privately, wherever. And
it wasn't a lot. I think we only paid about £30.
Yeah,
I don't think
it wasn't a lot at all.
There's a lot of them that post the test you and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And what T cell function they measure, don't they?
Yeah, T3 and T4. I don't know the details or the science, but
It's kind of interesting because the coronavirus stuff at the moment, the vaccines that they're developing, looking at actually work with the T cells.
wow.
So it's like I've been checking stuff up about that.
He's a big reader.
YouTube watcher, don't be silly.
Yeah.
Right. So you had everything looked great, and then finally after a year or two you had to push for it, I guess, and then and then you got your thyroid test done, and it kind of pointed that it was a little bit out, which would explain that you wouldn't feel drastically different in everyday life, but it had a massive effect. Did it have a massive effect, or could it have? Or
I think that might have been the reason why I wasn't ovulating. So since taking the thyroxine, I've been doing ovulation kits and stuff, and they show that I am now. So yeah, I think it helped in that sense.
So was it you went to the CRGW? Was that like in what point of like you went to the GP but then you went to the CRGW? Was that in between kind of like waiting? Because did they give you a time frame?
I think they just said you're on the list for the NHS. It'd be about 6 months. We'll ring you when we're ready, kind of thing. I'm sure you've
it takes ages.
It takes ages, and you've got to keep on. I always tell people if they're starting off, I'm like, you need to nag them and I certainly did.
Yeah.
They knew my voice by the end of it. I was like, hi, any update? Like every Monday.
I love
it. But then one day I did just phone and I was like, any update? And they were like, oh yeah, I've got your name here. Should we book you in?
What?
Wow.
You've just made Becky put a speed dial on her phone now.
It's like Christmas Day.
That's, I don't know. They're probably going to hate us putting this out because they're going to get like bombarded with calls when people realise, well, maybe it was coincidence.
Yeah, maybe not now in these times, but yeah.
So how did your treatment go from finding out your thyroid was a bit wonky? Like, what did... excuse the layman terms.
How dare you?
Mine's the same.
Have the wrath of the internet on you now.
Yeah.
Wonky thyroid.
Yeah. What kind of... What did CRGW suggest then? That you start thyroxine and...
Yeah, so the GP... They wrote a prescription for my GP, so that was good. So I didn't have to pay for it. And then they suggested IUIs just because... everything looked, fine. We had a good sperm count and things, so they said that might be the best option. And we decided to go for it because it's a lot cheaper. Yeah. And a bit easy. It's kind of like, and I'm glad I did do them because it is like a mini IVF kind of thing.
Yeah.
Trial run.
Still take the drugs. Yeah. And it was nice. Yeah. So like when we came to actually do IVF then, we knew we'd had all of the medication before. You take the same trigger shot and the same drugs just in a higher dosage for IVF. So it was a good little introduction, really, to
it was,
the world of needles.
Get you ready for doing the injections.
Yeah.
Become a pro.
Even them are daunting themselves, like doing injections.
Yeah, I imagine.
You couldn't watch the first time.
The first round, I couldn't watch it, but then I do them all now, don't I?
How big's a needle?
Not very. They're really thin.
Yeah.
They're like...
They look quite long, but really speaking, they're not that bad.
They're not even really that painful. It's just...
And just goes into muscles, is it? Like your ass or whatever.
It's the fact that you're stabbing your wife with a thing. You're just like...
I think if it was the other way around, Becky would be like, no, I'll do it. It's cool. Yeah, it's cool. Oops, wrong place. Oops.
It's nice. It's good doing it yourself, but then it's nice for you to get involved. And,
just lie down then and just do
shared displeasure.
I was just about to say that, Lee. It's nice that you've helped Caitlin do the injections because it kind of like brings you into it a bit more.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. It was quite good because they do. I don't know if they did at CRGW. I can't remember, but when we went to the Heath, they give you a little sponge for you to practice on, so you know kind of know the sensation and what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think they did do it.
Yeah,
and they teach you, how to do them and things. So.
Yeah. So how many IUIs did you have before you made it to the WFI?
IUIs. I think they recommend 3. You do get 3 on the NHS if you're eligible.
Mm-hmm.
If it's suitable, because it is only suitable if you've got a good sperm count.
Yeah.
So they offer 3 normally, and then you get your rounds of IVF. So we just did 2 because by the end of it, I was just like, come on now, let's just move on, do the real thing, and then the real thing. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, well, it's the big thing, isn't it? Like the thing that no one really wants, but you get there and you're like, yes, we're finally here.
Yeah, exactly. And it is quite like it's crazy, but I enjoyed the stimming part of it and the injections and stuff, just because you feel like you're doing something and you finally feel like, you're actually getting somewhere.
Yeah, I can kind of empathize with that. Like, obviously I haven't been through it yet, but I can see how it's kind of like, you're kind of at that, the precipice of something amazing happening, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then when the drugs arrive, and it's exciting.
I've always said, especially when we've gone to the Heath and they put it up on the screen for you, and you watch the embryo go in, and then they release it. If we were conceiving naturally, you wouldn't see that bit of it.
Yeah.
So you do. It is really good. You see a little light, and it's almost like a light shines.
It's beautiful. It's
and then you see.
Is that the reaction?
Which I've always said we wouldn't see that if you were doing it. Not if you were conceiving naturally. So
you wouldn't get a picture of your 5-day embryo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. So, because you talk about pictures there, Caitlin, because you've got quite a lot of art of your babies, haven't you?
I love my art.
Yeah.
It's from an Instagram competition of the first 2.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, I can't have 2 and not the other one.
Yeah.
So, I've had them all turned into like nice little artworks. They're beautiful, and they're by our bed, aren't they?
That's lovely.
Yeah, even though none of them made it,
they were something. They weren't nothing.
Yeah.
Like that was an important part of your like path through life, and there's so much potential. There was so much potential there, wasn't there? And for whatever reason, it didn't happen. But
yeah.
So what's the next stage now then? Like, where are you guys at the moment?
Before the clinics closed, we were due to have an endometrial scratch. I think they phoned us on the Monday maybe to say that it was getting cancelled, and the scratch was due to be on the Friday.
Yeah.
The scratch is before a transfer. It's an additional add-on that you have to pay for at the Heath, which they never pushed for it, to be fair. They were really kind of indifferent about it. They just said, if you want to do it, you can. But we decided to pay for it. It's £150.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just to kind of wake up the lining a little bit. And they do it, I think it's day 21 before your cycle, before your frozen cycle. And they kind of just do a little procedure where they scrape the endometrial lining to kind of get things moving and make your body realise, right, come on.
Something's happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we would just have that. So I guess we just wait now for them to reopen.
Yeah.
And then they'll just book us in. I'm hoping we don't have to kind of start it all again.
Okay, yeah.
With the treatment planning and things. I'm hoping they'll just say, right, ring us on day 21 and you can come in.
Okay, so would that be like a natural cycle then? Because you don't...
With a frozen transfer, so normally you take medication to kind of stop your cycle.
Yeah.
Keep everything quiet and to stop you ovulating. Kind of like a mini menopause type state.
Mm-hmm.
But there is suggestions to show that non-medicated transfers are quite good as well.
Yeah.
So with those, you wait until you do the ovulation sticks, you wait until you ovulate, and then they do the transfer then at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
So we were going to do that this time as well, just because we've never done it before. We've always done it with medication. So I was wondering whether maybe the medication could be affecting my lining, because I've always got a bit of a rubbish lining.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we did have a scan once. We again, another Instagram competition. We won to go and see Dr. George in Zeta West in London.
Oh yeah.
Which was amazing.
I think I remember following you on my personal account at the time and seeing that and being like, wow, that's so cool.
It was amazing.
Yeah, that was good.
£350 that would have cost.
Yeah.
We were so happy together.
And it gave us a lot of, like he was saying the stuff that could help.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went back into the NHS and everything he mentioned, they were like, yeah, we'll do that for you. We'll do that. So
Wow.
we were lucky in that sense.
Yeah, he gave us lots
He gave us stuff that we didn't know about.
Yeah.
So then we took back the NHS, and fair play to the nurse who's seen us. She was just like,
oh no, that was Dr. D'Angelo.
yeah,
I think you mentioned.
D'Angelo.
Yeah.
She was just like, yeah, I'll do that for you. I'll do that. We'll have that.
That's who we got, right?
Yeah. She's so cool, isn't she?
Great.
She's lovely. She's
Yeah.
amazing.
Ariana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder why there's that difference then, like between the two practices in terms of obviously straightforward. One's NHS and one's private, but Dr. George obviously kind of gave you some like a bit more perspective, like you say. It
I
just.
think it's.
I'm sure he said that it's just it's the NHS's protocol. So it's just like having a tick sheet. Someone comes in and they say, we've got to do this, we've got to do this, got to do this. Where I think private ones, they're more advanced. They're not advanced, but they got a lot more research going on, because obviously they're not funded by the government, so they've got better opportunities. I think.
Yeah, I suppose then they can take. Go on.
Sorry.
No, you go.
It's hard, isn't it, when you're online, you're not face to face. I think as well, because I'd had so many failed rounds, so 6, 7, 8, 11 rounds of treatment.
Yeah.
I guess the more you have, the more they've got to work with.
Yeah.
So like, they could look at my lining from every cycle, and how many follicles I produced and things like that. So I think that's another reason why they're now thinking of other things. Like the hysteroscopy, so I had that last week, and that was something Dr. George suggested. Yeah. And
so, can I just ask though? You say 11 rounds, and I'm talking as a layman, like that is kind of understanding everything again. But like 1 round is when they kind of like, is that like when they take eggs and harvest eggs, and then from there they'll implant? Like when what does the word round kind of entail?
Yeah. So the way I was saying it then was rounds of fertility treatment, so 6 clomids, 2 IUIs, 3 IVFs. But with the NHS kind of terms, 1 round is 1 egg collection. So we've had egg collection, they collected, say, 12 eggs, I think.
Yeah,
in one go?
Yeah.
Is that good? Is that like...
Yeah.
It's
pretty good. You don't want too many, because then you might overstimulate, and you don't want, obviously you want 12. Yeah, 12's a really good number. I was pleased with that. Then we got 10 fertilised, and 5 made it to day 5. So we got 5 embryos. 1 was a fresh transfer, so they transferred it 5 days, as soon as it got to day 5, and then the other 4 were frozen. So we've used 2 of the frozen ones. We've got 2 left. All of that is still 1 round under the chest, which is amazing. I always thought it would be 1 fresh transfer, 1 frozen, you're done. That's your 2 rounds.
Yeah, I think that's
so
what we were blown away by that when we saw Dr. D'Angelo. We were like, wow, so you could
and like the odds,
have a whole family.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
Yeah. I mean, because really all you need is 1.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. So okay. So like you've done 1 round with the NHS.
Yeah.
But that
and we're still in that round. We've still got 2 left. So.
There we go. So it's looking pretty positive, even.
So we've still got a lot of funding left. Yeah. But when I say 11 rounds, I mean 11 cycles of
trying
drugs.
Yeah. So, and then obviously IVF is when they take a frozen or a fresh, pop it in.
Yeah.
And then and then the other, you had other treatments too that were like similar to IVF but not the same.
Yeah.
So that's pretty optimistic, right?
Yeah.
It's so difficult though, because obviously, like you say, there's optimism in it because we're fortunate in Wales that we get those 3 rounds and you're still in the first one. But it must be it is difficult for you. You know, it's so difficult for you when things don't go right, you know, and it doesn't implant and become a pregnancy.
Yeah, how do you guys deal with that? Because like we haven't had any rounds, and I am the person I am is that expect it to fail, and then if it works, it's a bonus. That's how I operate in general. But so before you went into it, did you kind of give yourselves a bit of a talk and be like, okay, right, let's not get too carried away?
The first round was kind of like, we called it a trial round.
Yeah.
Yep.
But again, it's still heartbreaking when it doesn't work. I usually bleed quite early, so I usually have a transfer and then I bleed about 6 days later.
Yeah.
Which again might be something to do with my lining. So yeah, we never even get to the pregnancy test point.
Yeah.
We just
Okay.
which I suppose is maybe a good thing, because seeing not pregnant is horrific.
Yeah.
So obviously you still have to test, but yeah, it's awful. Lee's a lot more positive than me, and Lee does all his affirmations and positivity, and I'm just
I don't know, it's hard, I guess, and I don't think, I think for us guys it's easier for us to deal with because it's not our body that's like involved.
That's exactly how it is, because it's not happening to yourself. You just you sort of think, it will happen. Stay positive, but obviously
I still think it's important for us to do that, though. I think I really do think, and I'm kind of, like I said, I always imagine the most negative scenario, so that anything positive is a bonus. And I don't know, me and Becky talked about it a few times, but I don't know, I don't think you can actually you can't do anything. You've just got to have a shit time, haven't you?
It must be hard for you to not be able to really do anything, I suppose. Like I'm quite glad that I get to go through it, I think, because I'm more involved. So it must be hard looking in, and
I'm okay. I think, to be honest, I just think we've lived in different parts of the world where healthcare's different stuff. So I really, really appreciate the NHS. The fact that we get IVF treatment on the NHS is amazing. And the amount of treatment that you actually get, like we just mentioned with the rounds, and you get 3 of them and stuff, is just mind-blowing. So I really don't want to complain or grumble ever. I am a little bit impatient. I'm like, come on, all my friends have got kids. I want to get going. I want to be part of a gang with a kid gang, and but I'm not going to complain, and I have to check myself every now and again, and I very gently remind Becky sometimes. But it's hard, because
easier said than done, isn't it?
Yeah, and it doesn't make anyone a bad person for getting impatient and whatever. But I think it's important. It's important, and it helps. If you just sort of get humble every now and again, and think, if I lived in this country, I probably wouldn't get IVF. If I lived here, I wouldn't do it. So we're pretty lucky, but at the same time, it is really annoying to just wait. Waiting is the worst thing in the world. I hate waiting.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You're waiting, with COVID now, you're waiting for the clinics to reopen. Then you have to wait for your period to start your medication. And that's always late every time, because...
Just stress about it. It'll probably, is it...
You're waiting for it yet? And then it's always late. So you wait for that. Then you wait for your scans and to see, how your follicles are doing. And then you wait for the transfer. And then you wait for them to be fertilised. And then you're every morning waiting for the clinic to call you, to ring to say how they're doing.
Those receptionists must have the patience of a saint. The amount of times they probably speak to the same person.
Yeah, I know. And then you're waiting for the transfer. You hope that everything, if it's frozen, that it falls okay. And then you're waiting for the grades of the embryos. And then you wait 2 weeks to do a pregnancy test, which is horrid.
Yeah, that's the longest.
It's the worst part, the 2 week wait.
So your situation, we were just to loop it back a little bit to how you got your journey with IVF. You were trying for ages, nothing was happening, got tested out, blah blah blah. Did they actually kind of say, okay, well, we think the kind of reason that you might need IVF is this, that, or the other, or is it just if it's not happening, we'll just go? Or...
Yeah, pretty much. I think they did all of the the standard tests that the NHS do, then gave us Clomid. And then because that didn't work, and because we'd had private IUIs as well.
Can we just recap what that is quick for people like me who don't know?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, sorry, my
You charge you.
technical issue. Is that what I think?
That's all right.
Sorry, next battery's running out. An IUI is where so with IVF, the eggs come out of the body and they get fertilised in a lab.
Right.
With an IUI, it's kind of all done
Inside,
in-house.
yeah.
It means intrauterine
Insemination.
Okay.
Yes. So basically you take the meds for, I think it's like 2 weeks, the stimulation meds. They're looking with an IUI for like 1 to 3 follicles, whereas with IVF they want like, well, I don't know,
More.
10 to 20.
Yeah.
But with an IUI, they only want 1 to 3-ish, I think. God, it was so long ago, I can't remember.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then, so you do a trigger shot, which is done 36 hours before the IUI, and that releases the eggs. And then you provide a sperm sample on the day, and then they pop it in.
Yeah.
So, and did we cover the male side of stuff? Did everything work out like kind of like nothing particularly wrong?
Yeah. We've at least done 2 sperm tests. Probably due another one. I think they like to do them every
Lucky leap.
years, I think. Yours were a while. It would have been about 3 years ago.
No, I would have done one for the NHS as well. So I did one at.
Didn't they use one? I can't remember. I know me. I don't know if they used the one that we did at CRW.
Yeah.
I think Fuzz has found that experience quite harrowing.
Horrible.
It always comes back to this with Becky. It's just, she loves it. She'll laugh for
I like
about
to
3 days.
humiliate you a little bit.
Yeah, you humiliate my relationship with the cup.
Wanted her to go in with her and I'd give her a hand. I do listen.
Yeah. Well, why not? Live a little.
It's
You know?
so funny.
It's a shit situation.
But I was like,
make
no,
it-
you're on your own.
that was the
It's
best.
horrible, isn't it?
No, just watching waves of shame come over Becky. No. She was not having any of it. And the nurse was just like, oh, are you going in together? Like, totally blasé. It's not a big deal. It's fine.
Yeah.
And you were just like, self-destruct. And I was like, how do you think I feel? Anyway,
Yeah,
I did it though.
I don't know how you managed to perform and do it. I could never.
To be honest, I think most men
Especially
can get it done. I think we're just gross animals that will find a way.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
In CRGW, it's like downstairs, and you go in. So first off, you've got no reception on your phone, so you can't go on
No candles.
any websites.
Yeah.
So,
like Facebook.
So then, so they've got a drawer full of porn, which you think, well, other people have touched this. I don't want to touch.
Yeah, it's a bit minging.
You look at the chair and you go, well, someone's
Sat
in there and done a bit.
So you're doing a handstand in the corner.
Yeah. But then in CRGW, you go downstairs and there's a little window that when you've finished, the lab's behind there. So you put it in this little window and you pass it over to this woman that's got the worst job in the world.
Oh my God.
Hot off the press.
And
Warm
and
cups
then-
of jizz all day. Yeah.
So all through your mind, you're like, well, there's someone sat behind that window. Like, there's someone there. Like, and the 2 nurses were discussing what they had for breakfast, and I was like, this is not helping.
Just like that.
It was just, not so much embarrassing, but everyone knows what you're going in there for.
Yeah. And when you're in the waiting room, this is a different clinic to our one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but, we go into the clinic from our clinic, and you go in there, and there's like another 2 guys in there or whatever with a little bag, and you just kind of have that, I know what you've just done. Like, but also, I've just done it too. So we just not look at each other and go in a corner, and like, it's weird, but funny.
And then the Heath one's even worse, isn't it? Because in the Heath, I don't know if you've used it.
Did I go to the Heath?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just that little room, and it's just like, I don't know.
Very clinical, isn't it?
And there's hardly any men working in the department either.
No, and we did it in the summer, and it was absolutely roasting in the room, and I was just like, this is not going well.
You come out sweating, you're like, no, it's the heat.
25 minutes is way too long to be in here now.
Yeah.
Oh, good
God.
grief.
So it
I think
is.
the worst the worst one is when you have to do the sperm sample so you go down for your egg collection. So I'm like all gowned up and sedated and whatever, and then Lee's got like, you have a window of time where I think it's about an hour and a half where you can get it done.
Wow.
So that they can fertilise the eggs. That's pressure.
Yeah.
And
when your wife's in theatre and you've got to try and...
And your last memory of your wife is sat there in a gown with a cap on and sexy.
Yeah. You're like, bye, have fun.
So, so the male side of stuff came back pretty much like within the normal ranges and everything.
Yeah, we only had basic NHS tests with the sperm, so...
That's all we've had.
Yeah. I don't know whether we'd maybe need another one soon, but because we've got frozen embryos, it doesn't really matter for now.
Yeah.
That's
They'd
awesome.
probably test it on the next round, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've got a low count, but good mobility, I think.
Yeah.
So I think that's quite a good
That's
combination for treatment. I think that's, as far as things go, like, as long as you've got good mobility on the few that you have, and if they can get a cut of them, then it seems quite positive to me, like that kind of progression or whatever. But, we'll never know. But Becky's got thyroid stuff too. So, I mean, it's interesting to know. And again, I think it's easier said than done, but it's probably best just to not get into it too much.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just go do what the people tell you to do, get second opinions, and just
Stay away
crack
from
on.
Dr. Google.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so hard to do though, isn't it? It's difficult. So with your hysteroscopy, is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
Was that like an extra thing that Dr. George recommended too?
Yeah, so that was done on the NHS, and I got to go to a private hospital, which was like a little
Thank you.
hotel. I had a towel with the shampoo and conditioner on it.
Ooh.
This is all that's missed. They turned my sheet over.
Oh, really?
Tuck you in.
Like when I was in theatre, and then I came back out, and the bed was turned over with a little pad there for me. So it was quite a lot of bleeding. Oh, it was lush.
lush.
The staff were incredible.
Well, that's nice that you got to have like star treatment, because it mustn't be nice like to have to go through it.
Yeah, I'm glad I got to do it there. Yeah, it's amazing. That was to see if I had any, like polyps or cysts or anything that might be affecting implantation.
Yeah.
But they were like, oh, everything looks fine. And I was a bit like, I kind of wanted them to...
Have a reason.
Yeah, to be like, oh, there's this polyp, we've removed it. So,
but as things stand, things are looking good. Like, you got no like major issues that they've said like this is going to be really difficult. But it's one of those things, like, you've had a couple of rounds so far and it hasn't kind of worked out yet. But that could just be unluck. That could just be luck, Just
could be, yeah. Yeah, it could just be.
By the sounds of it, it sounds quite positive that you've had second opinions from Dr. George, and you've had, there's not a problem, everything seems within the normal ranges. Hopefully it could just be the thyroid thing, and you've just got to sort of balance, you got to hit that spot of like getting the thyroid right at the right time. And it's just like a balancing act, but you got loads of treatment left, which I always try and find the positives and stuff,
you need to.
Yeah. So what's the next course of action for you guys now then?
Just wait for a phone call.
So you got to wait for an IVF round. You got two frozen embryos, and will they put both in? Do you think?
Yeah, they're putting both in this time.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You could have twins.
Does it work like that? I thought they have. Does it work like that? Can they both develop at the same time?
Yes. That's why they don't like to do double embryo transfers much, because multiple pregnancy is such a high risk.
Okay.
They could split and they could turn into quads or whatever. So they like to. They usually only transfer one.
Yeah. So are they decided to do that because the other ones weren't successful?
Yeah. And because they're the lowest quality. So the 5 embryos that we got, they transfer the best one first, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Highest quality. The second one's the second highest grade, and then so on. So
Yeah.
because these two are like they're good enough to freeze, so they're good quality, but they're not as good.
Yeah. I found it interesting before when you said in that time frame, once they've collected your eggs and they've put the sperm and the egg together, and they give you a call every day to kind of let you know how they're doing. It's almost like they're at nursery and it's like, how are they doing?
I would kind of not want to know. I just like.
Really?
Sorry, I'm like, yeah, I'd like to.
Really? Oh no, you need to know.
He can stress you out though,
It's exciting too, though.
I always say I feel like I should be sat on them like a penguin.
Oh,
Like I should be keeping them warm. And they're just like, it's totally out of your control.
that's so cute. That's such a cute image.
Every day I think, got that wrong. I think they ring you the day after collection, and then maybe day 3, and then day 5 or something like that. But yeah, that's a horrible wait.
Yeah. Oh, I really hope your next, when it opens and everything goes, that this is the one. I really hope so.
You too. I hope you haven't got to go through too many rounds.
Before we go, I always like to ask guests if they had any positive words or words of hope or some suggestions or helpful advice that they could give people. Just put a bit of a positive spin on the end of the episode and looking forward with a bit of hope.
Definitely, I think that's great. I think that's what people need in these times, is a bit of just kind of light at the end of the tunnel. But it is tough. It's such a traumatic thing to go through, but we're strong and we can do it.
Yeah.
Just to recap some of the advice that you've said some really useful things over the last, in the podcast. So like, I think one of the things you touched upon was like second opinions and.
Yeah, I think if you can get a second opinion, then definitely.
Even if it, like, I know we won the competition, so we were lucky in that sense. But even if I would pay £350 for a second opinion, and especially if you talk to someone different from a different clinic, you're gonna come out with a lot more helpful, a lot more help to know what's going on. So I would always definitely
and maybe lay off the actual research yourself.
I don't do any, I get all mine from Caitlin, so probably like self. I just but try not to read too much because there's so much different. We were going for, they say, to have McDonald's chips after transfer, and we were doing that, and you're just like,
ridiculous.
Why are we doing this? You're like, why are we having chips?
Like,
it's just a myth, isn't it? Someone's done well with it.
I reckon it's McDonald's.
It's so funny, those little rituals that people have taken on, and it's literally blown up.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think from a male's point of view as well, especially we've had failed. It's don't, like, men. Men, like, they just shut off. But what I've learned is, you don't know the right words to say, but there are words. You can talk. Don't be scared to talk to your wife when she's upset, even though you think you might make it worse. If especially if you've had a failed embryo and you're thinking, well, there's nothing I can do, but just be there. Just always talk to one another throughout it all. Yeah, I think for the first one we did, I don't even think we spoke. We had the failed pregnancy test. I don't even think we spoke about it. We didn't get any of our emotions out. So then the second one, we were like, right, let's sit down, let's recap, let's go through it all, and then that helped. Then and then you feel more involved. Then from a male, you feel more every time you talk. You feel like you're more involved in it. Then
I hope that I like to think that I'm trying to be ahead of the game and sort of talk about, like, it might not be the first time that it happens for us, but let's not lose sight of it. Like, let's. It's not the end of the world. It's okay, but I know that's probably going to go out the window. But I try and foresee that, and I don't even know if that's possible.
It's really nice advice, Lee, though, because it is difficult to go through anything where you lose something, because essentially you're grieving, aren't you? Like, that's something that you had and now it's gone. Because once the transfers happen, they call it PUPO, don't they? Pregnant until proven otherwise.
Yeah.
So theoretically, you've been pregnant, so and that's a positive thing, isn't it? But it is so difficult because it means you've also lost.
I think doing more stuff like this, like 2 years ago, I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have sat here. I wouldn't have spoken to anyone about it.
Yeah, I casually bring it up, and people are like, "Wow!" I'm like, "Yeah, it's not a big deal."
Also, from being more open about it, so just half the time I wouldn't have even allowed Caitlin to put pictures of me on her Instagram thing. So but the more I was, the amount of people that have approached me, some men that have approached me, even like, I've been in a pub toilet and someone looking up, I didn't know you were going through it. I'm going through it as well. Have you got any advice?
Yeah,
it literally happens all the time, doesn't it?
Same with me,
someone, a male will just approach me and even text me. Like, I'll have a text off someone and be like, "Can you help me out with this?"
That's interesting. We should maybe me and Becky. I'm obviously a photographer and a filmmaker. I do loads of different things. Like, I do weddings, I do commercial work, stuff like that. So I'm quite into tech and bits and pieces and stuff like that. And I was potentially going to put together a like a Twitch or just like a hangout type place. And I think it'd be kind of cool to do that with like the guys. And maybe just have a little hangout and just talk. Oh, hey, it's Tony. What's going on? How did your count come back? Okay. Did you have tips? Did the thing, it'd be kind of cool. So I'll probably set that up actually.
It's a good idea. Little boys network, not little boys.
Good. Look at this. Look at this.
Boys network.
Matriarch over here.
What was that thing we did before where, you just sent people gifts?
Well, that was cute. Yeah, it was like a that was for a male.
Yeah, because the males not forgotten about, but it's more. And it was just Caitlin approached someone. And I just got sent a load of a big box of just gifts. There was like Reese's Pieces chocolates in there and just loads of stuff like that. And I sent one on then to them, didn't I?
It'd be kind of cool if there was like a little I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. This might sound stupid now, but like if there was like if people were part of a community and like every now and again you just put £1 into the pot, whatever, and then if someone had a really rough time, then people could like send something, but it's kind of collated as a whole rather than just one person sending something.
Yeah.
No, but no, I mean, yeah, like especially with lockdown, I've been playing games a lot more because I can't do as other things to relax and unwind, whereas I'd go out and go for massive bike rides and runs and stuff. I do exercise a bit, but I've been playing a lot more computer games, so I just thought it might be cool to mix it up a bit and have like a bit of a stream hangout type thing, because a lot of guys play computer games. It's like quite a thing. Cool. So I think we're gonna wrap up now. But it's awesome to catch up with you guys, and we'll definitely catch up. Yeah, we'll catch up with you guys again for sure, and we'll sort of share our progress and catch up with your progress and stuff like that. And I will put a link for this hangout for us guys to kind of get together and talk some shit and just chat and whatever about IVF stuff. Not that I feel like I have that much to contribute because I'm still learning about most of it.
Yeah, but that's
it's just a place to hang out and
I've been doing it 3 years and I'm still learning. So
yeah, but I'll put that description below. I'll probably be on Twitch or something like that, and it'd be cool to hang out and just get a bit of a community going. So
Definitely.
And it's not just South Wales as well. We're keen to speak to friends and people all over the world. So yeah, make sure you check us out, and we'll sign off now, and then probably do.
Before we do sign off, I just think I was going to say that obviously the Instagram community, like you said, has brought you so much in those terms that you got gifts. You've done that nice collab for the men, and then you obviously won that amazing baby portrait and the Dr. George thing. So I'd say anyone who is going through it to get onto Instagram. And where can they find you, Caitlin? What's your tag?
It's at Caitlin and Lee try to be 3, the number 3.
Yeah.
And Caitlin is AITLI.
I'll put a graphic on the screen for that, so if people are watching. But yeah, if you just say it one more time, just for people listening.
So Caitlin and Lee try to be 3, the number 3.
Yeah.
And if you look for hashtags as well, so things like fertility, IVF, IVF UK, you'll find loads of accounts on there. There's some amazing people to follow, and it's the best community.
Yeah.
I've made some life friends from Instagram, and honestly, I'd recommend it to anyone going through it.
That's
Get on
amazing.
there. Even if you want to be anonymous, you can. You can just set up an anonymous profile. You don't need to show anyone your name or your photo or anything. But yeah, the community they're incredible, and there's no one that'll truly understand what you're going through unless they've been through it themselves. So it's great to speak to people.
I think I can't wait for the pandemic kind of to lift a bit so that we can come up to Risca and see you, and we can all go out together.
Yeah, and there's always meetups and things as well.
We've got a bar in our back garden as well. So.
That's the plan for us, I think. That's the next step.
We'll bring our tent.
Yeah, come camping.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll catch up with you soon. Make sure everyone to give Caitlin a follow, to follow their story and stuff. And we'll catch up with you all in a bit.
Brilliant. Talk to you soon.
Thank you both.
Bye. So that was Caitlin and Lee. I hope you enjoyed listening to what they had to say. I know we did, especially their how they met story. I thought that was really cute. I love the way fate works. A few things for us this week. Nothing has changed at all. We're still in the same situation.
Wait, repeat.
Yeah. So that's us. Just fingers crossed that things start moving soon. And
some other bits of news that we could talk about is basically in that podcast that you just listened to, we talked to Lee, and we were saying about like how guys, it's a I don't know, it seems to be a little bit of a weird thing for guys because it's not our body that goes through all this stuff, but we you know, a lot of guys might feel, oh, what do I do, what do I say and stuff. So, you know, like on that note, I've already kind of thought about doing something where we could just have a bit of a space where guys and, you know, everyone can just like dip in and out and just chat. And I don't know, I think if we just all talk about it a bit more, then it makes it a bit less weird. So me and Becky we are starting a stream over on Twitch. So that means every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Becky will be kicking my ass playing Crash Bandicoot and other various games, and we'll have a chat on the go and stuff like that, and we can just sort of check in with you all. Maybe you could ask us some questions, give us some tips and advice, and yeah, you know, we can update you next week on our fitness stuff. I know last week we said Becky had a bit of a challenge to, you know, do 2 5K runs. Long story short, we'll go into it next week, but basically I think we overdid it a little bit with Becky.
Just a bit.
So we need to, you know, we're taking our foot off the gas with that, making sure that you're all fit and healthy, because this, you know, the tortoise wins the race. So, I don't know.
Slow and steady wins the race, yeah.
You get it. So.
I definitely enjoyed my run, and we both did a yoga session together, which we time-lapsed, so we can share that later.
Yeah.
And yeah, we progress over perfection. No, perfection over progress. What do you say?
Basically, if you haven't run for ages, don't go nuts because you'll hurt yourself. And then if you do hurt yourself, take a bit of time off.
That's me.
So, yeah, we're going to wrap it up. And, yeah, make sure you can... Well, make sure you can. Make sure you can doesn't even make sense. If you want to catch up with us and, you know, tell us how you think we're doing, maybe you could give us some suggestions or tips or advice or requests for other topics or people we could bring onto the podcast. Health and fitness is definitely something we're going to look at. Maybe trying to get some people in to give some tips and advice for sort of mums getting ready for that
and
stuff.
dads.
Yeah. So you can find us on the Instagram channel, which is at Hope and Mum and Dad. And don't forget, if you're into games and watching two people suck at playing them and talking shit, then you can
check us out on Twitch.
On Twitch, yeah. Tuesday 7:30, twitch.com/Hope and Mum and Dad. And we will see you later.
Have a good week. Bye.